Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. It's a beautiful day today in Nashville, and I'm at the Percy Wana just doing some Sunday afternoon people watching, and actually horse riding watching as well. So it's pretty fun out here. And I'm going to talk about a book I recently read from Jennifer Egan, A Visit from the Goon Squad. So I just finished reading this book yesterday, and I felt it was such a good book that you guys should know. So I got this book late last year when I was about to travel for the Christmas break, and I needed some books to read while I was traveling. I found this book in Barnes & Noble because I was attracted by the vivid color on the face. It had good recommendations from all of the magazines and the good book clubs, so I bought it. It took me almost like 3 months to finish this, and I'll talk about it because it's definitely because of the structure, how the book divided the stories into different chapters, so that I can easily pick a chapter up, read it, and then just put down the book, and then maybe come back a few weeks later and just pick up another chapter. So usually I like binge watching and binge reading. If I start, I will try to finish books as soon as possible, but this time the structure of this book really helped me to kind of like slow down a little bit. Yeah, that's why it took me like almost like 3 months to finish this book. So the best thing about this book is, in my opinion, it's non-linear narrative. If you watch the last episode I pushed on YouTube, like I like suspenseful movies and maybe historical stories as well. I think this book has some similarities in that aspect. Let's talk about the structure of this book. I will show you guys kind of like a character map of this book. It's pretty complicated. What the book did was divided all the stories happened in this book into 13 intercalated chapters, and each chapter represents a specific period of time when specific group of people interact with each other. Each story doesn't have a specific beginning point or an ending point. Like, you kind of need to read a few pages in to understand like who the story was about, and what their relationships. It's like solving a puzzle piece. I compare it to almost like watching a Quentin Tarantino movie or David Lynch movie. It's very interesting and intriguing in a way that you don't know when and who we were reading until you're a few pages in. It kind of like teases you a little bit. For example, the opening chapter it was a chapter talking about from the perspective of one of the major characters in the book, Sasha. She had a fling or a date with this guy called Alex. They had a date, and suddenly she steals a purse or wallet from this woman when she was in the bathroom, and then she eventually returned the bag. It has been her problem her lifetime, and then they went on a date, and then the first chapter just finished. And normally in the second chapter, when I was expecting that, well, why does she has this problem, and then the author might try to explain her either going back in the past to explore why she had this problem, or going to the future, what happened after date, right? But no, in the second chapter, the author began talking about her boss, Benny, another major character. And Alex and Sasha met because Alex had some business with Benny, and Sasha was the secretary of Benny. That's how they met. And then in the second chapter, not only did the author make the story jump back into a different character, but also it talks about a period that was like a few decades ago when Benny was still a teenager, and then they had this band doing teenage band back in the days. So I think this book is kind of a book that it's worth at least like reading twice. The first time it's more about finding the surprises you missed when you're going through different chapters, and the second time you can really look into each chapter and see, because at that point you already know like what the structure of each chapter is, and then you can pay more attention to what's each of the story inside. So I feel like even if you got like spoiled by somebody else, by other people who have read this book, you still will have fun reading this book. The last thing I really like about this book was that this book has this subtle sentiment when I was reading the novel, that time is passing and people change, but the cruelty of time is that there's nothing we can do about it. And that's the name actually, a visit from the Goon Squad. And there's essentially a quote from the book, "Time is the goon." And I really like the ending of this book. So at the end of the book, the Alex and Benny somehow got connected together, and then they were doing things, and suddenly they thought of Sasha, and then they went to stop by a place that Sasha used to live, and they hoped that could find her, but they couldn't. And this is the ending. "She's not there," Benny said. "I'm betting she's far away." He tipped his gaze at the sky. "I hope she finds a good life," he said at last. "She deserves it." They resumed walking. Alex felt an ache in his eyes and throat. "I don't know what happened to me," he said, shaking his head. "I honestly don't." Benny glanced at him, a middle-aged man with chaotic silver hair and thoughtful eyes. "You grew up, Alex," he said, "just like the rest of us." Alex closed his eyes and listened. A storefront gate sliding down, a dog barking harshly, the roaring of truck over bridges, the velvety night in his ears. And hum, always that hum, which maybe wasn't an echo after all, but the sound of time passing. The blue night, the stars you can't see, the hum that never goes away. A sound of clickering heels on the pavement punctured the quiet. Alex snapped open his eyes, and he and Benny both turned, whirled, really peering for Sasha in the ashy dark. And it was another girl, young and new to the city, fiddling with her keys. So in the end, new people appeared, and it's kind of like, you have this subtle sentiment that the music industry was nowhere it was before. That's happening to a lot of people's life as well. Like, we all have different chapters of life, and each chapter we interact with different people, but in the end we only have so many people we can keep up with, and we have to let go of some of the people. But still, when you think about the old times, there's almost like a nostalgic or sad feeling at the bottom of your heart that they're gone. Maybe not forever, but at least you can't hang out as you guys were used to. Alright, that's my book review for this book, A Visit from the Goon Squad. I highly recommend you guys read about it. And I will catch up with you guys next time.